Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this tutorial, we're going to create a fully procedural road in Blender using geometry nodes. What's cool about this is that the road is completely customizable. You just draw a curve and the road builds itself with boundaries, streetlights, rocks, and materials. Don't worry if geometry nodes feels confusing. I'll explain everything step by step, nice and slow, so you can follow along even if you're a beginner. All right, let's get started. First, let's set up our scene. I've added a few simple objects like rocks, a cube for boundaries, rectangle shape curve, and a light. These will be used later for instancing. For now, let's hide everything. This way, we can focus only on building the road. All right, let's create the path of the road. Add a Bezier curve to the scene. This will be our road guide. The road will follow this curve. Now, let's open the geometry node editor and create a new node tree. When you do that, you'll see two nodes, group input and group output. Think of input as the starting data and output as the final result. To make the curve easier to work with, add a resample curve node. This makes sure the curve has evenly spaced points, no matter how long or short it is. Next, add a set spline type and change it to poly. This converts the curve into straight line segments, which works better for roads. Finally, add a set spline resolution and set it to 2. This keeps the curve smooth, but not too dense, which helps performance. Right now, we only have a line. Let's turn it into a road. Add a curve to mesh node. This takes a curve and gives it thickness using another curve as a profile. For the profile, let's use a curve line. Set its start x to 1 and end x to -1, keeping everything else at 0. Now the curve is extruded into a flat surface, basically a strip. That's our base road. Most roads have boundaries, so let's add those. We need to separate the edges of the road mesh. To do this, add a delete geometry node and connect it after curve to mesh. Next, add an edge vertices node. This gives us the vertices along each edge. Now, to isolate the sides, add a compare node, set it to equal, and connect vertex index 1 into A and index 2 into B. Change the epsilon value to 1, and now we've effectively split the road into its side edges. But these are still meshes. To make them curves again, add a mesh to curve node. Perfect. Now, to actually see boundaries, add a curve to points node, then an instance on points. For the instance object, select the cube we hid earlier. Boom! Now we have boundary blocks following the road. To move them up slightly, add a transform geometry node and increase the Z location. That gives us a nice raised edge. Let's make it more realistic by adding strips above and below the road. Take the curves we split earlier, connect them to another curve to mesh, and use a rectangle curve as the profile. Turn on fill caps so the ends are closed. Now add a transform node and move it up a bit in Z, that's our upper strip. Duplicate the same setup but move it slightly below and we get the lower strip. These little details make the road feel layered and real. Now let's scatter some rocks along the road for decoration. Take the mesh to curve output, connect it to a curve to points, then into an instance on points. This time, instead of a cube, drag in the rock collection we created earlier. Enable Separate Children, Reset Children, and Pick Instance so that Blender randomly picks rocks from the collection. If your rocks are on top of the road, don't worry, we only want them on the sides. So add a transform node before the curve to points and scale it slightly on Y to push them outwards. To make the rocks look natural, add a random value and connect it to the scale input. Set a min and max value like 0.8 to 1.3 for random sizes. For rotation, add a combine XYZ, then another random value, and connect it to the Z-axis. Now the rocks are scattered randomly, both in size and rotation. Much more natural. Let's also place streetlights along the road. Just like before, use curve to points to instance on points, and this time drag in the streetlight object. Add a transform geometry before curve to points to lift the lights above the road. You can also scale them slightly on Y so they're offset from the center. For variation, add a random value, connect it to a combine XYZ, and feed that into rotation X. A range of -0.5 to +0.5 works well to give each light a subtle tilt.
Now let's make everything look good with materials. Go to the material properties and create 3 new materials. One for the road, one for the upper strip, and one for the lower strip. In geometry nodes, add set material nodes and assign each mesh part its material. For the road, we need proper UV mapping so textures look correct. Add a store named attribute node before resample curve, call it X. Use a spline parameter node and connect length to value. Do the same with another store named attribute before curve to mesh, call it Y, and connect factor to value. In the shader editor, add attribute nodes named X and Y, combine them with a combine XYZ, and plug that into the base color of the road material. Now add an image texture, load a road texture, and connect it in between. If it's rotated wrong, add a mapping node and rotate it on Z. If it's stretched, add a vector math node set to divide and tweak values until it looks correct. For realism, also connect roughness, metallic, and normal maps. For the strips, increase metallic and reduce roughness to make them shine. For the lower strip, just make it a dark gray. And that's basically it. We now have a procedural road that you can reshape just by editing the curve. The rocks, lights, and boundaries all follow automatically. To finish, I recommend switching to Cycles Render, lowering samples to something like 20, and enabling denoising. This gives fast, clean results. Now, whenever you draw a new curve, Blender automatically builds a complete road for you. And there we go, a fully procedural road in Blender using geometry nodes. If this helped you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this tutorial. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.